He swung his sword, obliterating every last larva in the nest, mocking them as pathetic insects while he exterminated each one. A surge of immense pleasure washed over him, likely due to the soul-devouring dragon blade in his hand. He had no intention of showing mercy. He vowed to destroy them all. He mused that the larvae of the Lord of the Flies rarely reached adulthood and often fell prey to other monsters. The thought of the Lord of the Flies returning to find its offspring slaughtered exhilarated him, sending a rush of excitement through his veins and igniting his soul with newfound power. Feeling nearly invincible, he activated his status display, revealing he had now ascended to rank 2, proving his talent was not confined to a mere rank 1. He wondered if the pleasure he felt came from gaining experience points after slaying thousands of larvae. However, he realized it was more than just points. It was the power of his soul eater, capable of consuming the souls of his enemies and absorbing their essence. He laughed maniacally, swinging his sword and devouring the larvae as if at a feast. Suddenly, the Lord of the Flies appeared, glaring at him menacingly. Sora taunted the monster fearlessly, mocking it about slaughtering all its offspring, who had cried out for their mother's help as if understanding their fate. The Lord of the Flies let out a thunderous roar, but Sora laughed with delight, feeling more alive than ever. Thrilled by the monster's sorrow, he assured the beast that its children had not died in vain, for their souls had helped him level up. He thanked the Lord of the Flies, stating that if it hadn't brought him to the cave, he would not have awakened his power. With its toxin-laden stinger, the fly monster attacked, but Sora, now more agile than ever, effortlessly dodged the strike. His body felt lighter, more responsive. He countered with a flurry of slashes, each blow siphoning off a piece of the monster's soul, flooding him with immense pleasure with every strike. The Lord of the Flies roared, its soul becoming more tantalizing with each swing of Sora's blade. Sora's strikes now harnessed pure strength from his arm's power. This technique, capable of felling even the mightiest foes, had eluded him until now. The Phantom Blade style of the Mitsurugi clan required harnessing the full power of the swordsman, and Sora was finally able to unleash its true potential. His family had been tasked with protecting the world from demonic gates, a duty demanding relentless training to master the blade style. In the midst of defeating the Lord of the Flies, Sora suddenly felt the effects of fatigue, realizing the monster was losing interest and trying to flee. Determined to end the fight, he leaped and inflicted more damage on the beast. The creature's agility reminded Sora to stay cautious despite his newfound strength. A single hit from the monster could still be fatal. He needed to finish the battle with one decisive move. With a power he had yearned for since childhood, a power designed to vanquish monsters like the Lord of the Flies, Sora activated the Phantom Blade style. With a single strike, he deployed one of the basic techniques called Gale, a leaping slash that infused his power into the blade. Standing over the fallen beast, he stabbed it once more with his Soul Eater, sending it and its larvae to the afterlife. The creature's high-pitched death wail echoed through the forest. With his enemy defeated, Sora pondered his escape from the cave. He realized he had used his ki power to enhance his body's strength. This ki was a form of magical energy generated within the body, similar to the life force used by mages to cast spells. Unlike ki, mana was found in nature, and was the preferred choice for casting magical spells. However, the Phantom Blade style required the creation of anima. Once manifested, the ki within one's body became far superior to natural mana. Since the discovery of this method, various styles known as ki arts have been developed. These arts were designed to combat demons. Activating his level display again, Sora saw that he had now reached level 5, a significant leap from his previous level. He felt immense satisfaction knowing that his hard work had finally paid off. Nearby, he spotted other prey brought in by the Lord of the Flies earlier. As Sora examined the body more closely, he realized the girl wasn't human. She was a Kaidan. The Kaidan were an ancient enemy of humanity, believed to be evolved demons after the original demons were sealed away. Now, the few remaining Kaidan were hunted for their horns, which held great magical power. With this knowledge, Sora pondered what to do with the Kaidan before him. Sora took a closer look, confirming that this was indeed one of the mythical beings from the Teddy Mountains. He wondered why she was covered in dirt and mud, and speculated whether her revealing clothing was typical for her race. His gaze lingered on her chest, and he was startled by the size of her breasts, given her small frame. Realizing his thoughts, he chastised himself for being a pervert, curious about a creature he considered killing. Tempted by the idea of selling her horn for a high price, which would allow him to live comfortably for the rest of his life, he also sensed the high-quality soul of the woman. Briefly, he considered consuming her soul to increase his own power. The temptation was strong, and he unconsciously unleashed his soul-eating dragon. Pointing his sword at the Kaidan's neck, Sora snapped back to reality. He punched himself in the face, scolding himself for targeting an innocent being who hadn't harmed him. He realized that his newfound power was changing him, giving him an insatiable hunger and predatory instincts. He no longer felt like a guardian, but more like a predator. This change, though unsettling, made him feel more alive than ever. He wondered if this was the effect of the Soul Eater, or if it was his hidden nature coming to the surface. Awakening to the realization that both aspects were a part of him, Sora resolved to control his power to avoid becoming a monster. Noting that the Kaidan girl was still unconscious and barely clothed, he hoped she wouldn't regain consciousness too soon. His attention shifted to an adventurer being devoured by larvae. Recognizing the equipment, he deduced that it must be the missing C-rank adventurer Luna had mentioned. He prayed for the fallen adventurer and, with a sense of guilt but understanding the necessity, took the equipment for his own survival. A few moments later, fully equipped in the adventurer's gear, the Kaidan girl began to regain consciousness. She was startled to see Sora, who quickly explained that the Lord of the Flies had brought her to the cave. He reassured her, pointing to the beast's corpse nearby, that he had defeated it. As they prepared to leave the cave, Sora assessed their surroundings and realized the only exit was through the ceiling. While this would be a difficult feat for a normal person, he knew he could use his energy to jump high. Thinking of a strategy, he offered to help the Kaidan girl escape by suggesting she ride on his back. Despite her paralysis, her determined expression showed she was willing to try. Surprised by her decision, given the long-standing enmity between their races, Sora instructed her to climb onto his back. Together, they prepared for their escape. They prepared to escape the nest after a few more leaps. Finally, Sora and the Kaidan managed to break free from the monster's lair. Sora felt as if he had been reborn, which was fitting since he had essentially faced death. Emerging from the dark nursery into the warm light outside, he realized he had survived and could barely hold back his tears. Remembering the demon girl on his back, he asked if she was still numb. Fortunately, she could speak and apologize for her own tears, feeling saved. He pretended not to share her emotions, but then she shyly and sincerely expressed her gratitude close to his ear. He accepted her thanks warmly, feeling his heart swell. It had been a long time since anyone had thanked him, and it was a significant moment for her too. He was reminded that the Phantom Blade style was meant to protect others. When he asked where she wanted to go, she remained silent. Understanding her hesitation, he suggested she choose a safe place, like a mountain or tree, so he could take her there. She pointed to a specific tree, but to him, they all looked the same. She tried to explain further, but only caused more confusion. He told her to hold on tight, as they decided to leap off the cliff first, and then readjust their course with the girl on his back. They descended effortlessly. The sensation of the wind against his face left Sora in awe. As they surged forward, the fresh air filled their lungs, and the Kaidan, overwhelmed by wonder, smiled brightly. They soared high into the sky, taking in the breathtaking view before landing in a dense forest. The girl quickly surveyed their surroundings. Sora noticed the trees she had pointed out earlier and the berries, which she claimed had detoxifying effects, a revelation that astounded him. He had specialized in medicinal plants for years and had never encountered anything like them. He tasted one, shivering from its strong flavor, but soon felt revitalized, freed from the paralyzing effects on his body. She looked at him in amazement, recognizing the magical properties of the berries. Inspired, he briefly considered turning this discovery into a thriving business, but the Kaidan's gratitude interrupted his thoughts. She thanked him, to which he humbly responded that he was just doing what adventurers do and was glad to help. Seeing her bow her head, he remembered that despite their current circumstances, demons were far stronger than humans. Yet, she seemed like an ordinary girl now. Reflecting on their time together, he realized he had grown immensely powerful, making demons seem like mere children to him. As he prepared to leave, she stopped him, insisting on properly expressing her gratitude. He argued that it wasn't necessary, but she looked at him with sincere eyes and introduced herself. Upon hearing the confirmation, Susum was taken aback. She nodded eagerly and asked for his name. With their introductions complete, they began to understand each other better. As they moved along, he was warned to avoid the human territory downstream, near the river of Ishka, the likely place of his passage. The forest, known to be full of magical beasts, posed no threat to him. He wondered if the creatures could sense the terrifying power within him. Confidently, he pressed forward, feeling like the strongest being in the area. Susum expressed her longing for human settlements and the loneliness of traveling alone. Suddenly, she heard human voices and rushed to the source, finding a group of armed and well-equipped adventurers from the royal forces of Canaria. They were mobilizing to stop the Lord of the Flies from breeding, unaware that the monster had already been slain. From a distance, it was clear they were experts and a disciplined unit, at least on par with an elite group. Sora realized that Falcon's sword must have informed the guild about the monster. To his surprise, he spotted his former party among the crowd. They likely needed a leader, and it must have been an honor for them to survive the encounter. Lars led the way, pretending to greet Sora, while Isla acted as if she was injured. However, the former members knew better than to trust them. Filled with anger over their betrayal, Sora felt a genuine thrill at the prospect of exacting his revenge. They joined the conquest force without a care, leaving him to wonder how they would react upon seeing the monster's den. Luna moved on, while Muru grabbed his arm. Sora felt a violent urge to tear them all apart but decided to restrain himself and savor their suffering for as long as possible. His thoughts grew darker, dwelling on the despair and humiliation they would face until their inevitable deaths. The creature within him began to take over, its essence activating. Fortunately, he managed to stop himself from losing control and being consumed by the ravenous entity. Attacking now would make him an enemy of the royal army and a criminal. It would be foolish to hunt them down immediately. Instead, he would let them live in the hell he envisioned for them. When the time was right, he would completely destroy them and everything they had built. Only then could he feed on them. Luna was shocked to see Sora asking for help from the front. The Falcon Sword members were stunned, their mouths agape in unexpected surprise. Sora scratched his head lightly, wholeheartedly declaring he was lucky to have escaped the Lord of the Flies.